I've had people put me down because I didn't look like them. I look stronger. I've had people look past me because of the color of my skin. I've had people overlook me because I was a woman. I had critics say I will never win another Grand Slam when I was only at number 7, and now here I stand today with 21 Grand Slam titles, and I'm still going.
They break records, they redefine strength, yet the spotlight still tells a different story. How does the media shape the way we see Black women in sports? For generations, Black women in sports have carried more than the weight of competition. They've carried stereotypes, silence, and scrutiny on their bodies. From track lanes to basketball courts, they've been told to be strong, but not too strong, to stand tall, but not too tall. Yet, here they are creating their own box to fit in.
And I cannot help but think of my favorite poet, Maya Angelou, and she has this poem called And Still I Rise, and it's a long poem, but I just want to quote a bit of it. So here it goes. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me with the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Just like moon and suns with the certainty of tides, just like hopes and springing high, still I rise.
This is a story about visibility, media representation, and victory. This is about how Black women athletes are seen versus the legacy that is being built beyond the jersey.
My name is Lori Latrice Martin, and I'm a professor in the Department of African American Studies, and I've been here at LSU since 2013.
My name is Kevin Baptiste. I am a sports reporter slash anchor at WAFB TV here in Baton Rouge. I'm going on 7 years there. I've been intern, producer, sports photographer, just about everything there is besides hitting switches in the back. I cover LSU, Southern, some other colleges right down the road like Southeastern, Nichols, time and time again.
I think it's important to note, and I like to remind folks about this, that sports basically are not just a form of entertainment, but that they're reflective of society. So all the things that we observe in society, we shouldn't be surprised when we observe them also in sports. And so if Black women have challenges because of their race and their gender, and it causes a variety of mental health challenges, whether it's because of this trope of being a strong Black woman, for example, or if it's related to differences in how different body shapes are perceived, or whether it's just an array of various stereotypes related to Black women. Those can be very taxing on Black women as a whole, and so we shouldn't be surprised when Black women athletes have that same experience.
Well, just speaking on my experience, I mean, we treat them, we try to treat them as equally as all of white athletes, whoever else, because we judge our coverage based off performance. This is just my thought process. I see in national sports, the perception is a little different because they don't really get much attention unless they are the best at what they do, or they do something that creates headlines. And usually the headlines that national media wants is something messy, some type of drama, something that can really draw some negativity and get clicks, because that I hate it, but negativity sells in the business. So
Well, we have some high profile examples of some cases where we've seen like different treatment, or we've seen examples of stereotypes showing up in sports. So most recently, thinking about the U.S. Open and with the tennis player Taylor Townsend, after she defeated a white female opponent, the white female opponent basically said that she was uneducated and classless without any, evidence to support that. And those words were quickly seen by other Black people in the tennis world, both male and female, as being loaded terms and coded language racially that have been levied against or leveraged against Black people as a whole. And so we saw that example. Lots of scholars have written, although her body form may have changed in recent months. A lot of scholars have written about how folks might have body shamed Serena Williams back in the day and focused more on what she was wearing, like the cat suit that so many people wrote about, as opposed to how well she was playing. And for a time, both Venus and Serena, again, scholars have written about this, were winning many matches without even playing as much on a tour as other tennis players were, winning many more majors. But you would have some white female athletes that would get far more endorsements than they would combined. And so we have, unfortunately, some high profile examples of the media, as well as fans and even people who don't follow the sports, treating people differently based upon the social characteristics to which they belong.
Let's start with the most obvious, Angel Reese. Her, Caitlin Clark, national championship a few years ago. I mean, Angel Reese, taunts her, throws up the check the ring, check the finger, and of course that blew up. Watching the game, as soon as she did it, I was like, oh damn. I already know where this was headed. I don't really like the double-sided figure of it. I mean, if men can do it, women can do it too. And I felt like that got really blown out of proportion, because here we are, we got the women's game is evolving, is growing up. We're celebrating athletes who are helping grow the game, making the game better for everybody. LSU won their first national championship in women's basketball program history, but here we are talking about mess. And as I said, mess is what sells, clicks, and gets views, and sometimes makes money. Oh, it has a huge influence because I feel like Black women are probably the most misunderstood and probably mistreated of all types of ethnicities, races. I feel like every ethnicity has their stereotypes, but I feel like Black women, theirs stick out the most.
But from a sociological perspective too, we would talk about agents of socialization, and those are institutions that communicate what's considered acceptable in society. So they teach us the ways of society, like the family, for example, like schools, and the media, education, those are in sports, I would argue too, are agents of socialization. So they do play an important role, either directly, indirectly, intentionally, or unintentionally, by communicating to the people who are watching and supporting them about what's acceptable based upon one's race, on gender, on age, on ableism, and so forth. And so, the media plays a very important role in crafting and perpetuating narratives that may or may not be true, as well as myths that, again, may or may not be true.
So I feel like having those voices, those Black women in the newsroom, that is a necessity.
At our very own LSU, we meet Aaliyah, a former athlete who had to navigate the weight of expectation while still staying motivated to do something she loves. From there, we hear from Joy, a former student athlete at Xavier University, about her experience of balancing books and basketball. And at the University of Alabama at Huntsville, Chelsea adds another perspective to the story, reminding us that these experiences reach far beyond one campus or one state.
I'm Aaliyah Andrews. I'm 27 and I'm from Oldsmar, Florida.
My name is Joy Campbell. I am 23 years old and I'm from Fontana, California.
My name is Chelsea Burnett. I am 24 years old and I'm from Mobile, Alabama.
I would say one of my best memories is when I went to the World Series my freshman year at LSU. We played Florida State at Florida State, and my parents both went to Florida State, and that's where they met. So them just being able to come and it being the place that they met, they got to watch all the games. And then I caught the like winning catch to go to the World Series to win the third game. And so that was just a really special moment. My grandpa got to come see me for the first time play. And that was just like the best moment. And obviously going to the World Series is really, really hard. And so to do it my freshman year in a place that's really memorable, like to my whole family, was really awesome.
One of the highlights of my career was definitely last year winning the regional championship here in the gym. It was just a really great experience. There was a lot of love from the fans. Everybody was happy. A lot of love from the coaches. We got a trophy, got to cut the net down, and we also were able to take down William and Carey, a team that was like 29-0 or 30-0, something like that.
Some of my favorite memories would be practice with my teammates, especially my freshman year. Just being a newbie and having all the upperclassmen come in and really just take us in, make sure we were having a good time, getting to know the school and the team were some of the best memories. Made me feel like I was at home. I was really close to my friends in high school, so it was always just a touch of home for me.
Athletes in the media, I think the relationship has gotten a little better. I think that athletes recently, especially, I think have been able to use the media to be able to like speak about really important issues.
In general, I feel like the relationship between the media and athletes can be pretty biased. I think the media likes to cover, D1 schools, big D1 specifically, like SEC, Big 12. I feel like it can definitely be better with the D2, D3, and JUCO circuit. They can cover multiple athletes throughout multiple divisions, and I feel like they should take that chance and do it. I also feel like athletes should not believe the way that the media always depicts them, because sometimes the way the media depicts you is not who you are, and so you just have to continue to be true in who you are and not listen to the media.
It's made me very strong and resilient. I feel like Black women are the lowest on the totem pole. When we talk about white men, white women, Black men, and then Black women, I feel like we fall very short. And I think that we have to work 3 times as hard to get everything that we get in this life. I think for one, it's definitely made me strong because I have to work so hard, but also resilient because there's times where I don't get what I feel that I deserve. I don't get the shots, the opportunities, so it just kind of allows me to bounce back and push myself even harder.
Growing up Black playing softball is definitely an experience in its own. Obviously, softball is not predominantly ran by Black athletes. I was the only Black girl on probably 99% of my teams growing up. It was definitely a different type of experience. I don't think I realized the effect that it might have had on me until I actually got to college, because college, I actually did have like a good amount on my team, which was so awesome, so great. You got to live in shared experiences and really understand ways to navigate the sport, but also yourself. That was a little bit different growing up. Like I couldn't do my hair like everybody else. I always had braids, which was great. Loved my braids, but there was just certain things that people didn't understand.
Well, I feel like growing up as a Black woman, you always have to be the best. You always have to work a little bit harder. And I feel like that translated for me on the track. I always wanted to be the best, always wanted to push to be better. I practiced with the boys a lot just because when I was in high school, sometimes there wasn't a lot to push me on the female side. So I worked out with the men. And in college, I used that all the way through and just always trying to be the best version of me. One thing me and my dad came up with when I was in high school is 212 degrees. That means to always try and reach your boiling point. And when you step on the track and reach your boiling point, no matter how you do, you should be proud of yourself for pushing yourself that far.
I think that is definitely a real thing. I think that people are so quick to critique everything, and I think we can see that in like Sha'Carri Richardson and Angel Reese lately, just thinking of people that have been in the media prominently lately. And I just think that it's so easy for people to pick at the negative things, and then you see something positive and it's silence, radio silence. And, some people that are fans of them decide, want to back them up and say, okay, she did this amazingly and great, and why is nobody talking about it? But the minute that they do something that might not be in the most positive manner to some people, it's instant critique. So I think that it is very disheartening and sad to see that no matter like what you do and how great of an athlete or a human that you try to be, people look for the negative, and that's what they're gonna put out there.
That's frustrating because there's so many amazing Black women who are athletes in numerous sports, but there's always one thing that has to get depicted that's just a terrible thing, or just like talked about in such a negative manner. You think about Gabby Douglas. I mean, she's an amazing gymnast and Olympian, but people talk about, her build and her facial expressions, the fact that she's not the best dancer. Like, it's always something. We can't ever just be great in the sport that we do, which can be definitely frustrating. And I think it's also kind of very sad to see, only because like Black women are role models for future generations. So when future generations look up, they might not want to be depicted in the ways that we're depicted, especially when you talk about people like Angel Reese. A lot of comments about her body all the time and the fact that she wears makeup. Like, we're not talking about her stats. We're not talking about what she produces on the court. And even, Sha'Carri Richardson, we're not talking about how fast she can run and the records that she's broken. We're talking about her nails. We're talking about her hair, when that's not what she's on the platform for.
I think when Black female athletes are not being depicted in a negative way, there isn't a lot of athletes who are being depicted in a positive way. And the ones who are usually the ones who are pretty, don't really have much to say to the media, kind of keep their thoughts to themselves, which is not a bad thing. Just they know how the media can portray the things that they say, so they choose not to say anything. And so I definitely wish that sometimes the media would depict these female athletes in a more positive light, because so many female athletes are doing so many good things outside of their respective sports. Asia Wilson, she just became a Hall of Famer. Angel Reese was just in the Victoria's Secret show. Like, they are doing so much good for themselves and for their community that I think it should be shown.
I can say that it always crosses my mind before playing, especially in college, and whenever started being on TV and everything, it always crossed my mind to make sure my hair was gonna be fine, make sure that I had blemishes covered up or whatever it was. Wanted to play to the best of my ability, of course, and I mean my choice to do those things was, one, because I think look good, feel good, play good. I think that's a true thing, but also because people can clip anything and make fun of anything, and if you have something out of place and you look crazy, then it can go anywhere. And I think that, especially as female athletes in general, that is just such a topic of conversation all the time. And in one aspect, it can be cool because some people have gotten a lot of recognition for some of the things that they do while being televised. Like, thinking of Dejanay Carrington, she plays in the WNBA as well, and she has been known for her makeup, and she wears basically a full face playing basketball. Granted, they're inside, so I think that helps with her being able to stay looking nice while she plays. But people have asked, like, what setting spray does she use? Like, she looks so good. And then makeup brands have been reaching out to her now and things like that. I think that can really help express yourself. So I think that there are definitely pros and cons. And I think that nobody, especially playing our sport, should be criticized in terms of the way that they look.
I think in the media, especially for a lot of women's sports, not just track and field, sometimes people who maybe don't have as much knowledge on the sport, which is very common in track and field, they try to use other things like maybe your appearance and the way you look to try and make up for the fact that they don't know a lot about your sport. And I feel like it's unfortunate because it does happen to Black women a lot. If we want to talk Sha'Carri, her or Shelly Ann Fraser, like the way they do their hair, the colors they use, the way they express themselves. A lot of people who are not like us don't understand, but they are taken from Flojo. Flojo wore the long nails. She had her hair done. Like, you can be your own authentic self and still be great at what you do. And I feel like sometimes people take too much of a focus on that when it doesn't take anything away from your talent.
It hasn't. My parents raised me to be a very, very confident person. So if I'm not getting the shine, it's okay. You know, I'm okay with playing in the background and making things work because eventually my game will speak for itself. My stats will speak for themselves. My personality and my drive will all speak for themselves. So I think that for me, it's always been, it'll come in due time. Don't worry about it. So just kind of keep putting in the work, keep my head down, and make things happen because when greatness is being, displayed, it cannot be denied.
Yeah, I am pretty intentional with consuming the media that I want to consume. Playing my past season that I just played this summer, I got into like a really, really bad collision and in the outfield, and people had their comments of like whether we should have done this to not collide. Why did she do this? What happened with this? And the second I see one little negative thing about it, I turn my phone off. Just because we're out there just trying to play.
For me, coming from a Division II school, I wouldn't say the media has affected my confidence too much, but I would say if I attended a D1 school or we had a little bit more media coverage or just knowing the potential of the way the media can depict you, it does make you a little bit more cautious when you do go to some of those bigger meets where there are D1 schools, so there's a little bit more coverage because you just don't want to be seen in a bad light, especially for the rare amount of times that you might get some type of media coverage. Give them the same
grace, because then the second that something goes down that might not be in the greatest light, I guess you can say,
it kind of defines the rest of their career for a long time.
It's like always a think piece, always a really, really big deal. And
we're young. Most pros are in their 20s, low 30s. So mistakes are going to be made.
And it can never be like, well, maybe this is happening, maybe whatever. It's just always like bashing for the most part.
I think it's very important to stay true to who you are
and not letting anyone define who you are or change your character.
Because at the end of the day, everybody's just behind a screen, and who you are and who you wake up and feel and be and live in every day is the only thing that really matters.
Their stories go far beyond stats, headlines, and highlight reels. They redefine strength, visibility, and voice, reminding us that how they're perceived as Black women athletes matters just as much as their sport, because what they represent and what they will overcome will always live beyond the jersey.